Well, the saga continues, and apparently so do the euphemistic nicknames. Of course, he was Maryland father Kilmar Abrego Garcia, but that got awkward with allegations of domestic violence from his wife in court records, plus an audio recording of her complaining about that.
So I saw a neighbor walking his dog, and I opened the door and I was like, help. And then when he heard me, he grabbed me from my hair and then he slapped me. He hit me around 3 a.m. He would just wake up and hit me. He slapped me 3 times. My sister called the police because he hit me in front of my sister.
So now he's Maryland construction worker Kilmar Abrego Garcia. That's the more recent fashionable way to describe him, appearing somehow spontaneously in recent weeks, even though it looks like a lot of different news outlets started using that term simultaneously. But that's about to get very weird too, considering at least some of the basis to call him a construction worker is his claim to police during a 2022 traffic stop when he was driving a truck modified to carry 8 other illegal immigrants across the country. During that stop, he told police, he and these other guys, they're all just construction workers.
What kind of work is it? He's construction.
And there's also the supporting construction worker evidence that Kilmar was arrested at Home Depot in 2019, right alongside other known MS-13 gang members. And hey, it could be true. Kilmar might be an illegal immigrant construction worker who also traffics other illegal immigrant construction workers to job sites. Though, if it is true, I would certainly inspect whatever it is that they built. It's probably about as up to spec as his driver's license was at the time. Suspended.
The problem with my license right now is expired, right?
It's suspended?
Suspended.
And his insurance at the time. Absent.
Your insurance, can you find it?
I called my boss because I don't know where put the car.
Okay.
And any record of all those people in his truck. None.
Does anybody else have a driver's license?
Driver license?
Yeah.
No.
Or, of course, construction worker could just be cover for something far more treacherous. Who knows? The point is, even if you buy this construction worker description as true, the reason we have to say that he is a construction worker is that he was caught doing something criminal beyond just his unlawful presence in the country. And so, on that basis, fatherly Maryland construction worker Kilmar Abrego Garcia was returned to the United States 3 weeks ago to face human trafficking charges. That criminal proceeding is in the pre-trial phase in Tennessee, where he was pulled over. Kilmar has been held there pending trial since he came back. If convicted, he faces up to 10 years in prison for each illegal alien he trafficked. Or maybe we'll just boot him again, because the legal complexities in this case just keep stacking. We may have deported him just to bring him back, just to deport him again in a technically different way. Of course, it's all way more complicated than it should be, but at least we're getting a great reality show out of it. Recall, the entire controversy of Kilmar's original deportation to his home country of El Salvador back in March was the apparent conflict with a 2019 immigration court order that said he couldn't be deported to El Salvador. So it's not that Kilmar couldn't be deported. He could, generally. In fact, there was already a removal order for him. It's that he couldn't be deported to El Salvador specifically. Why not? Because Kilmar had successfully argued that he faced great danger from gang members who had threatened his mom's pupusa restaurant. They might beat him up for his burrito Hot Pocket money, so he can't safely go back. Even though his family is still there, so why wouldn't he want to protect them from this threat? And even though a gang coming after him raises the question, why? Is it because he belongs to a rival gang? Anyway, the legal standard was Kilmar could be deported, just not to El Salvador. Thus the controversy of him being deported to El Salvador. So Trump and the DOJ chose to get around that controversy by charging him criminally and bring him back for prosecution instead. But then on Monday, there was a relevant development at the Supreme Court. In other deportation cases, Trump has been deporting some illegal immigrants to willing third-party countries, as in, this illegal immigrant is from Mexico, but we'll deport him to Papua New Guinea instead. That practice was legally challenged, leading to several of these illegals temporarily living in converted shipping containers at a U.S. military base in Djibouti under ICE oversight for several weeks, until this court challenge played out. Well, now, a new order from the Supreme Court will allow these third country deportation practices to continue while this legal challenge works its way through the courts. So the illegal immigrants involved in this case will now be heading to places even worse than a sweltering shipping container in the East African sun. Now, why might we deport illegal immigrants to countries other than their own? Well, there are legitimate reasons beyond just cruelty or vengeance, as it might be characterized. Most often, these are dangerous convicted criminals. In this case, men convicted of serious crimes like murder, sexual assault, kidnapping, and more, and so their home countries do not want them back. And so, to handle that sort of situation, the U.S. has negotiated agreements with other countries to take these people in, and at least for now, the Supreme Court says that practice is fine. How is all of that relevant to our fatherly Maryland construction worker? Well, remember that Kilmar just isn't deportable to El Salvador, but he is deportable to anywhere else. So now that these exotic deportation travels are legally clear, it might mean that the game of where in the world is Kilmar Abrego Garcia has only just begun. It was Baltimore, then El Salvador, now Tennessee, but soon it could be Rwanda. I hear they've really improved their hotels there, but I would bring a machete just in case. Or Kosovo. Or he could just go to Guatemala and lob mortars at his rival gang members over the Salvadoran border there. Get him close to home, but keep the Great Papusa War at a safe distance. That sounds like a reasonable compromise. And according to a DOJ lawyer on Thursday, or at least a report claiming to quote one, that is exactly what the federal government is going to do. It was reportedly said during a brief court hearing, perhaps within days, the Kilmar Fatherly Construction World Tour will continue somewhere overseas once again. They just haven't decided exactly where or exactly when yet. Now, it should be noted that report is disputed by a White House spokeswoman, calling it fake news and saying that the federal government's intent is to keep Kilmar here, to prosecute him here. But White House spokesmen and DOJ lawyers have been at odds on this same case before. A federal prosecutor formerly on the case said in a court filing the original Kilmar deportation was a mistake. And then they fired him from that job for saying that. And the reality is, if Kilmar is released from custody in that Tennessee criminal case, and it sounds like that's happening soon, well, then the White House has a difficult dilemma. Do you let him just return to Maryland fatherhood, or do you detain him on immigration violations, which, of course, are going to be pursuant to removal? He's not here legally. So, to reorganize and to try to make sense of this developing legal mess, remember, the criminal human trafficking case from which Kilmar may soon be released is technically different from any deportation proceeding. Different process, different courts, different judges, different law enforcement personnel handling him. And we still have the complicating factor that Kilmar's wife is still suing the Trump administration in civil court to try to end anything deportation related as well. So we now have a very complicated and bizarre web through several different areas of federal law, prompting correspondingly bizarre legal strategies too. Kilmar's team is now trying to keep him locked up, and federal prosecutors and immigration enforcement could potentially try to get him released, or at least agree to it, so they can remove him from the country. In the criminal human trafficking case on Monday, the judge said Kilmar will be released before trial. He has been locked up, but he should be released because he's not a flight risk or a public safety threat. But if he is released, he's going to get transferred to immigration enforcement, and then it could be straight to Timbuktu, per the Supreme Court order. So on Friday, Kilmar's lawyers were begging the judge in the human trafficking criminal case in Tennessee, no, please, keep him in jail here. Lock him up for at least just a couple more weeks. No word yet on what that judge will decide, but if that judge does order him released, it could create another bizarre scenario where Kilmar wants to stay in jail voluntarily, if such a thing is even allowed. And even more strangely, it's not exactly clear what federal prosecutors want in that decision. If they keep Kilmar locked up, well, then he won't be deported, which puts the Justice Department potentially at odds with Homeland Security and border enforcement. But if they agree to his release, well, then he's getting deported, and their legal case will be moot. He won't be prosecuted because now he works as a ladyboy in Bangkok. And then there's Kilmar's family trying to get a different federal judge to order him to remain here pursuant to their civil challenge to his first deportation to El Salvador. Kilmar's wife is still pursuing that challenge, though Trump's team has moved to dismiss the case, saying that's now moot too. Kilmar's family sued to bring him back to the U.S., and now he is back in the U.S., so end of dispute. But Kilmar's family wants the judge on their civil case in Maryland to block DHS from scooping Kilmar up if he is released in Tennessee, apparently on the basis that if Kilmar is quickly deported again, well, then we have the same problem all over again. Even though we don't, his old deportation withholding order said no deporting to El Salvador, but he won't be deported to El Salvador. Now, he'll be a bat keeper at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. It's also unclear what that Maryland judge will do with this motion. Whatever it is, it won't be immediate, because she didn't buy the Kilmar family urgency, and she says she's unclear if she even has the power to do these things, block his deportation again, or require his return to Maryland. And beyond ironically arguing for their client's continued imprisonment, Kilmar's family lawyers are reduced to a desperate argument that most Americans are going to read in a way opposite from their intent. "Oh, please, Miss Maryland Judge," they write this week, asking her to issue orders beyond her jurisdiction to protect Kilmar. "If this court doesn't act swiftly, well, then the government is likely to whisk Kilmar away to someplace far from Maryland." You say, "Oh no," and we say, "Yeah, exactly." If you're looking for sympathy, sorry. Best we can do is quote the emperor. Good. He should be someplace far from Maryland. The fact that he came to someplace far from his own home without the legal right to do so and committed additional crimes while here is the problem. Sending him back to where he came from or somewhere else comparably far away if he prefers otherwise is a perfectly fair solution. It's kind, actually. Not cruel. And hey, the good news for Kilmar and his family is no matter what, he's not going back to that inhumane Salvadoran prison, which was supposedly their dispute the whole time. I thought the argument was deportation could be fine. It just has to be done through the right process. Well, here's the process. The Supreme Court bought you a ticket to Tora Bora, and the plane leaves in the morning. If that's unacceptable, then go back to cooking pupusas in San Salvador. The choice is yours. It really is just as simple as the Semisonic lyrics. They don't like quoted in this context. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. A choice at all is very kind. It's more than what's deserved, and it's far more than any of us would get if we just showed up in some foreign country, disregarding their process and breaking their laws, but expecting to live there permanently anyway. Because if you really think you face dangerous persecution, well, try those same moves in any country but this one. You will quickly realize just how manageable that Salvadoran pupusa gang war actually is. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on X, that is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chatting my live streams is live on Wednesday and Sunday nights. Looking forward to it. Goodbye. Hey, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, that means you probably found some value in the video. If you found some value in the video, please consider supporting my material. You can do that one time or recurring for as little as $1 a month. It not only helps me sustain, but it helps me pay the people who make my videos possible. Linked in the description for you, mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Thanks for listening.